and welcome back to our podcast, Conversations with Two Golden Queens. I'm Phyllis Tucker Saunders, and I'm here with my co-host, Dottie J, and also Dr. Sean, our special guest today. Hello, Dottie J, and hello, Dr. Sean.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
Dottie J, are we going to get ourselves into hot water today?
I certainly hope not.
Okay, because our topic today is your doctor a drug dealer? Now, this is a very controversial topic because some people will hate what we're saying, some will consider what we're saying, and some will just outright think we've lost our mind. Let me start out by saying that these are our opinions, and we're just sharing them with you. We think that being a medical doctor can be a good thing, but people must remember that when we go to a physician, we are going to a quote unquote medical doctor who went to a medical school. Now, what that means to me is that they have gone to a school that teaches them to dispense medications to help with an illness. Now, I don't think doctors are taught to treat the cause of a disease. They're taught to treat the symptoms of a disease with medicine. And why? Because they're medical doctors who have gone to medical schools to learn how to dispense medicine to help with a medical condition. Now, this brings us to what I believe some doctors have become. In my opinion, some doctors can be professional drug dealers. And what I mean by that is you go to the doctor with your symptoms, and whatever condition you have, they will give you medicine to treat those symptoms. That medicine negatively affects other parts of the body, and the doctor gives you a second medication to treat that second condition caused by the first medication. Stay with me now. Now, that second medication affects a third part of the body, and the doctor gives you another medication to cure that third condition caused by the second medication, and on and on and on. You get what I mean? That is how some people end up with a bag full of medications. Dottie J, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. And at a very young age, I always thought the best way to treat any illness is to get to the root of the illness rather than just mask symptoms. And luckily, I thought that way because when I was much younger, I had trouble with fibroid tumors. And my gynecologist prescribed this hormonal treatment. And so I immediately asked him, what are the side effects? The only side effect he told me was possible weight gain. So luckily he told me that because I didn't want any parts of it once he said I would
I'm
gain
so vain.
I'm like, I'll
Okay.
try to manage these symptoms some other way. And luckily I did because years later, my mother got diagnosed with a rare form of uterine cancer. And then I realized those hormones that they had prescribed for me, one of the side effects was you could be susceptible to uterine cancer. So
Mhm.
probably if I had taken those hormones, I might have gotten the same thing my mother had gotten. And so I've always believed in looking for natural cures, the root of the problem. And it has served me well because right now I'm 71 years old and on no pharmaceutical medications.
All
And
right, Miss Golden Queen.
Golden Queen's numbers are good so
Yeah.
far, so good.
And speaking of natural medicine, Dr. Sean, could you tell us a little bit about your background and give us some of your thoughts on what we're talking about today?
Yes, I can. Well, I started out like many people that kind of go into this field. I had a lot of health conditions of my own, and I was stuck in the medical system in that model, which is designed, it's a sick model. And, you might have a symptom or two or 10 symptoms. And you want to try to find an answer. If you're not feeling well and your quality of life is low, especially for myself, I was only 20 years old. I was pre-diabetic. I had hypoglycemia. I had
Wow.
chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And so I
Wow.
went to different doctors. I had high blood pressure. I had cholesterol issues. My triglycerides were triple the normal number. And so there's a lot of reasons we can say that cause that. I did have a very stressful life and childhood as well. My diet
Mhm.
growing up was not good. We didn't have much money at home. I was eating a lot of things in the can, like the Chef
Mhm.
Boyardee type of things, Pop Tarts all day, a lot of those sugars and colors. And as a
Mm-hmm.
result, I had a lot of issues, cognitive impairment issues, learning disabilities, behavior issues. These are things that I see and deal with every day in my office, but I didn't have any answers. And I thought, you grow up and you look at the medical community and you look at these doctors wearing these white coats, and you think they're going to provide us with the answers and get us the help we need. And so that's the hope going into it. And then you realize you go round and round in circles and you don't get any answers, because the reality is they don't really know. They don't know what really causes disease, because it's not the scope of practice that they're in. So you get put on a medication and that doesn't work, and you get put, and it keeps going, and that one gives you a side effect. And I got pulled into that system. So a lot of it, they said, well, this is, a lot of my blood work looked good. There were some factors that were a problem, but they would say, oh well, this is depression. Yes, I feel depressed because I don't feel well, right? If you don't feel right, you're going to be down and out, and not feeling yourself is going to lead you in different directions, right? So then they'll try to send you to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and before you know it, you can get put on medications. Like I was on Paxil, Wellbutrin, Depakote, and that one ruined my liver, and I gained 60 pounds. I was always a pretty fit person,
Mhm.
but that ruined my liver enzymes, and I gained 60 pounds. And I said, I got to get off of all this medication. And so I kept doing things and learning and getting acupuncture done and getting herbal Chinese remedies and seeing energy medicine type of people, and just trying all these things at a very young age to try to get out of that system, which seems to get a grasp on you and you can't escape, especially when you don't know there's other options out there. So
Mm-hmm.
I was on that path for a long time, and again, one medication leads to the other. And they put me on this one called Wellbutrin. I felt out of my mind. And they use that
Wow.
for people to quit.
Wow.
They use that for people to quit smoking, but they use it for me to try to calm, my nerves down, or to make you feel happy or whatever. And then that one, I would stay up for days. So then they gave me Ambien to sleep. And then that one gave me more anxiety. So it goes round and round. And finally, I was able to, it took me a long time to get off all these medications, and at this point I had, I did my undergrad work, and I did minor in biology and some other things, but I was more in the financial field. I was in the accounting field, did public, private, government accounting, but I lost my cognitive function and I was out of work for 2 years. I couldn't work. I was losing my first house. I couldn't pay the mortgage. I was behind, and I used every penny I had, my unemployment money that was coming in, to try and eat organic and to try to do the right things. And I never
Mhm.
gave up. And the only way that I'm here right now is because I never gave up,
Mm.
Thank God.
God
Now,
help.
Dr. Sean, did your experience influence you to go into this field?
Well, yes, in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. I always was fascinated by this type of medicine, because it made sense. It made sense that all the remedies are already here. That God gave us everything we need. And when you start diving deep into things and doing research and looking at things, which a lot of people don't do, you'll see that 40,
Right.
40% of all medications are made from plants. Most people don't know that.
Right. Right.
All made from plants mostly. So why not go to the plant without the synthetic chemical components they put in that actually cause the damage in the body? Because plants are very
Ah,
nurturing. Most people don't know that.
because I was going to
Mhm.
say plants are good, but what you're saying is they add stuff to the plants that
Yes.
are manufactured man-made
So they can put a patent,
chemicals.
so you can put a number on it, which is like a patent. So for
Right.
sell this and make, billions or trillions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's all set up as marketing, right? You see these commercials and people are running around
Yeah.
in the fields and
Yes.
all happy, but then at the end of the commercial, they're telling you, well, you could drop dead from this. You might be smiling, but
But
Right.
sometimes the end of the commercial with all the side effects is longer than the commercial. That's what I'm laughing. That's the funny part about it.
Yes,
And
please
and
tell your
people still
please
go
tell your
out and
doctor.
people will still use the medicine, even though that part is longer than the commercial itself. That's just kind of
Yeah, but
crazy.
they
Right.
still do it.
So,
Right.
so, so Dr. Shaw, let me try to show this. It's a little short video that kind of summarize all that we have said here. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Sure.
The biggest scam out there is that doctors are the biggest drug dealers in the world. And let me reiterate that. Doctors are paid to administer opioids like fentanyl. That means they're paid to be a drug dealer. Now, physicians do great work, but weak-minded doctors who just prescribe medication to their patients without knowing what the alternative methods are or what the actual problem is. Now, giving opioids to individuals with pain, yes, people do this. People need to relieve their pain. But where does the pain come from? The doctors don't know. So they are making money off pain. So think about that.
I want to challenge you to think differently the next time you receive or are recommended a prescription from your physician. If the physician doesn't ask you what you've been eating, what your stress level is, if you move your body intentionally, how much sleep you get, how much water you drink. If these questions aren't addressed before offering you a prescription for a medication, that is not a physician, that is a drug dealer.
All right, comment, either one of you.
Oh, definitely. Some doctors, I understand that a lot of doctors don't learn that much about nutrition in medical school. They learn more about medications and dispensing medications. So
There you go.
that's what they do. Immediately, they look for what drug can hide the symptoms of your disease. So,
And
they don't know as much about nutrition as they do about medication.
and remember, that's why it's called medical school,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't
Yep.
say healing school. It says medical
Right.
school. So it's a medical
Right.
school that teaches you how to dispense medicine.
That's
And
right.
that's okay if that's what you need, because that really is the purpose. So now we say, okay, so what do I do? And that's why we have Dr. Sean here with us today. He's our holistic doctor, and he's going to educate us and bring us up to date on what is really the healing process for our bodies. And let me just give you a little bit of information. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. Dr. Sean Inselberg.
Yeah, you did it.
Okay. And he's the
Right.
founder of the Nutritional Wellness Center and has made studying functional medicine and nutrition for almost 2 decades. He is board certified as a certified nutrition specialist, which is the highest certification in the field. Okay, go Dr. John. He has a doctorate degree in acupuncture from Wan Institute of Graduate Studies, a master's in human nutrition from the University of Bridgeport, and he received his pre-med requisite from Rowan University and the University of Bridgeport, and did undergraduate work at Rider University. And he is an expert in functional medicine, biochemistry, acupuncture, energy medicine, and autoimmune response, and has the ability to assess even the most difficult cases. So we're so happy to have Dr. Sean. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate us and our audience on alternatives to putting harmful drugs into our system. So I guess the first question I want is, what is the difference between treating disease and restoring health?
Well, I see patients all the time, and they'll come in with symptoms, and a lot of time when I see them, most people, they've been through that medical system for a while, and they might come in with a box full of medications, but their quality of life
Mm-hmm.
is not any better, and in many cases, it's much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at all the facts. So I look at the same factors that a lot of doctors do. I'm diving much deeper. We're looking at patterns of disease. and we're looking at the most important thing is the root cause. So a lot of
Right.
times you'll get answers, the easiest answer is to say you have an autoimmune disease and your body's attacking itself, which is not true. Your body is not designed to attack itself. Your body wants to heal, right? You get a cut, you
Mhm.
get a wound, you get an injury, your body's very quick to respond to that. And in most cases, unless you have something hindering your immune system, your body will heal, right? That cut, that broken arm, right? And you might need some assistance to do it, but in most cases, your body already has this innate ability to heal itself. So I'm seeing
Right.
people come to my office and their condition, they still have their condition, right? So the medication they're on is a band-aid, right? It's that model, it's the sick model, and they're stuck in that system and they're just waiting. That kind of system is basically, let's just wait for you to get a disease and then we'll treat it. But
Yes.
the smartest thing to do, which is what I try to practice the most, which is preventative medicine, right?
Right.
So if we know that heart attacks and cancer are the two leading, causes of death in the U.S., shouldn't we be wondering, well, what can we do to prevent that, right?
Yes.
And is
Yes.
cancer, is that bad luck or is that just genetics, right? So genes do play a role, but if you look at the research, it's only 5% where you might have a predisposition, right? But we're looking at something called epigenetics, which is turning good genes on and turning the bad genes off. And if you focus in this area, you really can prevent most of these diseases that most Americans are headed towards, right? In my office, I'm seeing Alzheimer's at alarming rates. I didn't see this a decade ago. I'm seeing more
Right.
people with dementia, memory problems, just cognitive function. And a lot of times too, I can trace that to some of these medications they're on. And one, which is a statin, right? So the statin drugs, which we call them cholesterol medications. There's a lot of research now showing not only can it cause cognitive issues like dementia, in men it causes ED, erectile
Mm.
dysfunction, right?
Mm.
So when you put a medication in to force your body to do something that your body is not doing on its own, yes, we can do that and say, oh, look, Mrs. So and so or Mr. So and so, that medication is doing a great job. Your triglycerides and cholesterol are improving, but then
Hmm.
they don't remember their name. So is that a good thing?
Well, that's
Right.
But
funny. Funny you should talk about the cholesterol drugs because I got dispensed two of them. First one didn't work because it was doing kind of strange things to my mind. So it's interesting that you mentioned the dementia. I stopped taking that. Second one they gave me, I couldn't walk for 3 days, so I stopped taking that.
Wow.
So when I was doing
Wow.
the research for this podcast and I saw, all the things that you were involved in, I said, wait a minute. So I got on my little horse and galloped up to Palmyra to see you yesterday. I don't
All
know
the
if you
way
made
from
the, I
Maryland.
don't, right. I don't know, 2.5 hours. I don't know if you made the connection that I was going to be the host for today,
I didn't know you
but,
were bringing a horse, though. That was a nice horse to ride. What's that
but
horse's name? Charlie?
now, so
Mr. Yeah,
can you
yeah,
just
Mr.
explain
Ed
to
or
them
Charlie
what
Hood.
you did for me yesterday, which will kind of tell them what to expect if they come to see you on the first day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, the most important thing, again, a lot of people will neglect the full person, right? A person is mind, body, spirit, and
Ah,
you can't just treat the physical, right? So there's all
yes.
different aspects, right? And I go deep into things down, I can go down some rabbit holes, and some of the things I do, excuse me, that we're just trying to address everything, right? So a lot of cases I see, even the more complex ones, there are emotional components. There's traumas, past trauma. There's worry. There's stress, right? A lot of people, everyone perceives life differently, but the world is a reflection of you. And sometimes people have this inner communication where they're just worrying about anything and everything that could go wrong. And what happens is the body responds to that. That's stressful. So most people today in this modern society are kind of in this fight or flight response, right? Most people I see, they have like digestion issues are the number one thing I see here. There's bloating, there's weight gain, there's slow metabolism, there's thyroid issues, there's adrenal fatigue, there's all these issues. And people are tired. People don't want to go exercise, even though they need to. Oh, I'm just so tired. And you get all the excuses. Well, I don't have the time and this and that. But
Mm.
the reality is stress, is interpreted different ways and perceived different ways, and
Hmm.
our bodies will respond, right? So we'll have high cortisol levels. Our adrenaline's consistently getting pumped out into the system. So we have this stress response, and the body is pretty resilient, right? We're pretty resilient, right? You can go out and eat some junk food and you wake up the next day, right?
Yes.
You can do that for a while, right? But
Yes.
it's all these things that we do catch up to us, but the stress factor is often overlooked. And sometimes people want to go quickly to, there's so many people on psycho drugs, right?
Right.
Pharmaceutical drugs that are trying to hinder your thoughts. But
Hmm.
why not do the work or look towards there's so many natural remedies that get people out of anxiety and depression. So what we're doing here, number one, we're gonna assess the stress levels. We're gonna do a special test here, which is a heart rate monitor test. It's called a heart rate variability, and it's gonna dive deep into the rhythms of your heart, how stress is affecting you. Because if you don't handle that, you can take all the vitamins and you can even eat really good. If you don't handle
Right.
stress, you will never fully feel yourself. You just won't. You'll have
Hmm.
Absolutely.
you'll have poor sleep. You'll have
Hmm.
poor interactions with people you love because you're not going to want to be out and about and doing things in life. You're going to maybe just want to stay at home and say, "Oh, I'll just stay home and I'll binge watch some shows for a while." So we want to get people the quality of life that they deserve and can have, but most people don't realize it. Most people don't know that they can come in here and follow a program that's designed specifically for you. So if you come in here and you have, vitamin B deficiencies, for example, and most people do, that's going to help your nervous system. So a lot of people come in here, they'll have tingling in the hands and feet, right? Some kind of like a neuropathy. And a lot of time that's a B12 deficiency. Or a lot of
Hmm.
people come in here and they're craving, oh, I crave sugar and carbs all the time. That's a vitamin B deficiency.
Mm.
And then a lot of people have, oh, they crave salty food, or this. Your body's telling you something, but it's
Right.
not saying you need to go out to the donut shop and load up, right? It's telling you
Yeah.
something else. But we think like, all right, let me just get 20 munchkins and I'll feel better, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
everything's about balance, but I'm looking deep at that emotional factor. I'm looking deep at your blood work, right? So we look at this, complete blood count. We want to look at your red blood cells, your white blood cells. What's your immune system doing, right? We have eosinophils and basophils and all these different components that are going to tell us if they're high or low. There is specific reasons why. So you could be walking around with viruses in your body. You could have parasites in your body. You can
Ew.
have something. What did you say, Theo? You could have dysbiosis, right? Issues with your microbiome. How many times have you been on antibiotics or steroids in your life? How many times have you been on certain medications that disrupt the normal flow of life that's in your gut? I mean, there's trillions of bacteria and yeast. There's good yeast, there's good bacteria, and then there's bad bacteria and bad yeast. One type is called Candida albicans. A lot of people, they're searching online, and nowadays with social media, you're getting all these videos and bombarded by all this stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
maybe I have parasites. I got pain in my joints, or. But the thing is,
Hmm.
even with that, in the natural world, you can go round and round in circles trying to figure out what's wrong with you. So my approach, which has taken me a very long time, besides, almost 13 years of schooling, even that training doesn't set me up to fully help a person. I had to do more advanced training in all those fields: body, mind, spirit, clinical nutrition, and years of learning and getting certified in cancer protocols and Lyme disease,
Hmm.
and the difficult stuff that people don't really have an answer for. And I do have the answers for most of that. I really do. And when you
Right.
apply this type of technology or herbology, people get well, and it's almost it's like a miracle. because most people think they're going to be stuck. Or you get a prognosis from your doctor. Oh, you're just going to have to learn to live with that. And for me, that's not good enough. And for my patients, that's not good enough. You don't
Or
have to.
either you're going to die in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
they're playing.
heard that too
They're
from the
playing God,
doctor.
right? The doctors are
Right,
playing God. Oh yeah, and they shouldn't be doing that.
right.
So, there's a lot to it, but we're looking at, the deep levels. And the thing is that makes this work the most is that it's individually tailored towards each individual. And that is how, my patients get well. And they refer their friends and family to me because they trust not only, I know what I'm doing, but I care. You go to some doctors, you're a number, right? You're just
Yeah.
that ID on your medical card, right? Oh, and the thing is, that model is you in and out the door. I mean, you wait longer in the waiting room than you do when they see you, right?
I actually
Mhm.
had to, I actually had to call a doctor back in because we were sitting there talking. I had three things to talk to him about. After the first thing, he started to leave, and I said, "Wait, wait, wait,
Hold up, right.
wait a minute! I have some more things to talk about." But
Absolutely.
and
In
you
and out.
mentioned spirit, soul, and body, Dr. Sean. The Bible teaches us that we consist of body, soul, and spirit. He says, "May your whole spirit,
Trinity.
soul, and body be preserved blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus." 1 Thessalonians 5:23. So that spirit, soul, and body is very important, and we need to take care of it.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Dottie, did you have any questions for Dr. Sean?
Dr. Sean, do you have any classes either online or in person as far as nutrition? Because we definitely know how important nutrition is
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
maintain good health. I always tell my sisters because they get on me about spending so much money on organic food and trying to eat healthy, and I always tell them I'd rather spend money on food than on prescriptions.
Yeah.
So, do you have any courses to give us more insight on nutrition?
So currently, I'm not actually like teaching any classes,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes, depending upon what their goal is. Some people, and it doesn't matter how old someone is, especially if you're retired or not. But some people say, you know what, this is fascinating. How can I get involved with this type of work and maybe learn this, right? So you look around, one of the biggest things today, you'll see these like health coaches, right? And so
Right,
some good programs out there. I can't, give a name right now because I don't off the top of my head know
right,
of one to refer people to, but it's something that, I could help people with, like refer them to a place where they could learn specific types of healing modalities. And then
mhm,
obviously some people say, hey, I would love to go into this path um, for a career. And I can definitely guide people in
Mm-hmm.
different directions for that, whether that's
mhm,
Chinese medicine or functional medicine or nutrition. And then there's a lot of, certifications. I mean, some people can go and get, like a Reiki certification, and all that is, that's just energy, right? There's energy all around us, and
mhm,
and we have energy in our bodies, and we can actually use that as a healing tool. And this is I'm going to show you guys a book here, which is it's called Yan Shen. This is the
mhm.
art of Chinese self healing. Probably
Mm.
back your
Okay.
camera there, but it says Yan Shen. And Katie Brindle, this is the author. This is a very nice book, but she teaches you how to do self care, and there's a lot of techniques in here, but things people can do at home, and things that I love that have been around for centuries, which is Tai Chi and Qigong, and they're doing a
Mhm.
lot of these things too. And like a lot of senior communities, they're getting together and they're doing Tai Chi classes, and right, so
Right,
we're having this movement towards mindfulness, right, and being
right.
aware of ourselves and what we need. So, and I always encourage people. A lot of my patients are religious, which is great. So prayer is very powerful. Um, you know,
Meditation also,
meditation
right?
is very powerful. Going inward and kind of cutting out all that clutter, right? And the noise
That
that's
noise.
out there.
Yes.
And
So
especially since God speaks in whispers, so you can't
Mhm.
hear him unless you clear some of that noise away
Right.
and listen
All
to
the
what he has
chatter.
to say. And Dr. Sean, Dottie J was talking about, the cost of this. So alternative care is more expensive than regular medical care, and is usually not covered by the insurance company. So what do you tell people who
well,
can't
first,
afford alternative care? Like everybody can't afford to jump on their
yes,
horse and come see you
I'm
like
gonna
I did.
I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna disagree with you. All
Okay.
right. So it's all about perspective, right? So,
Yes.
and if something's important to a person, you'll find a way to make it
Okay.
work, find a
Okay.
way to do it. So a lot of the times, just think about it. How many people do you know that wanted to do a thing or change something in their lives and they never did? They never took action because they made an excuse not to do it.
Okay.
How many people might cry about, like definitely some people have valid issues with money, but they're out there buying that $500 Louis Vuitton bag,
All
right?
right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta
I
get,
know people like that.
right, I gotta be
tell
cruising.
the truth and shame the devil.
But here's the thing, I gotta get the latest electronic or the latest big screen television for thousands and thousands, or I
Mm,
gotta drive in the fancy car, or I gotta wear a $5,000 watch. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you're
right.
doing all that and you're not taking care of yourself, all that stuff is for nothing. The best asset you will ever have in this life is your body.
Your health.
That's
Yes.
number one. So to me, I will put my last penny into myself and my family for their
Mm-hmm.
health. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't have any excuse. Even if I had
Right.
zero money, I would do my best to find a way. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, it's the perspective. And I don't know people's finances, but they could be sitting on, they work 40, 50 years, 60 years retired. They have a little bit of money there. Are you taking that with you when you leave this earth? No.
Right.
So why not use what you got? Because a lot of people, it's perspective. They're like, oh, it's like this. I got to hold on to all that. I can't tap into that stuff. That's my retirement. But how many people enjoy the retirement? Most people I see, they're in and out of doctor's appointments. They're getting their next colonoscopy,
Mm-hmm.
all these things. And some people, they're ending up, they can barely get up the steps. Like, oh, it's
Right.
my arthritis. It's because I'm getting old. No, it's not. You have some pathology that's not being addressed. So at the end of the day, I say that a person will do what they desire to do if it's important enough to them. If it's important to get a juicer for $50 and try
Mm-hmm.
to get a little bit of organic produce or non-GMO type things and run it through that juicer. You can do that instead of I got to go to that McDonald's and get my
Dollar meal. A dollar
my
meal.
muffin.
Yeah.
I, you know, got to get all that stuff. But people are putting poison in their body and they're not realizing this. They're cutting their life short. So if you look at the big picture, yes, you might pay a little bit more right now, but you're going to pay much more later in the cost of your health and your
Mm-hmm.
time. And for some people, when they're younger, 20s and 30s, and they get sick and they can't work anymore, they could have invested into their health if they knew and prolong another 20, 30,
Right.
40 years of working and quality life. So it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
perspective.
that's
So,
that's the number one thing, quality
Mm-hmm.
of life. Because
Quality
a
of
lot
life.
of these medications can prolong your life, but the quality of your life, because when you're not enjoying it because you're sick from this side
Mm-hmm.
effect or that side effect. And I understand that one of the number one causes of illness is inflammation. So, doctor, can you give us some insight on, how to avoid inflammation in our body?
well, yeah, and that's kind of, it's kind of the same thing as autoimmune. It's like labeling you have a mystery issue. Autoimmune means we don't know what's wrong with you, right? And your body's attacking itself, which is not true at all. And inflammation is a sign. All right, your body's responding. Your body produces inflammation to protect itself, right?
All
So
right.
if you eat a food and depending upon your sensitivity, right, a person can go into anaphylactic shock, but that's your body trying to protect itself. Oh, there's a foreign substance in my body, and then you produce histamine, and then your throat closes up. But your body's trying to protect itself. It's not trying to,
Kill you.
end you, right? It's not trying to put an end to you.
Mhm.
So inflammation is that warning signs, and I'll tell you 9 out of 10 times, or 10 out of 10 times, look at your diet. If you have inflammation, look at your diet. If you have a
Right.
symptom, you have to look at your diet. If you have sleep issues, if you have mental health issues, you have to address your diet. And even though you may have cleaned it up and think you're eating right, there could be some inflammatory foods in your diet. So for
Mhm.
most people, it's just getting educated. What is a healthy food? I like to send people to a couple references that I love because it makes my job easier. One is Dr. Sebi, which you guys may know of his work. He's passed on, but this man he was from I believe Honduras, and he learned from some of these um, medical herbalists and people that have been, passed down these theories for many years that were healing people in the villages, right? Learning how to eat, learning what foods are causing the inflammation, right? So this is Dr. Sebi Self-Healing Bible. But
Mhm.
I even recommend going online, Googling Dr. Sebi recipes. What does he recommend people eat? And I can say from the top of my head that you want to get away from all eggs, right? Egg
Wow.
whites, the middle of the egg, the whole egg, organic pasture raised eggs, any food or baked goods that have eggs in them is going to cause a lot of inflammation for you.
Even
Dr.
the free,
Sean,
even the free range.
Even if the egg was made out of gold, was
Dr.
glowing.
Dr. Sean, you
Yes.
just ruined my breakfast,
Yeah, I'm
my
sorry
everyday
about that.
breakfast.
I know I did. And that's why some people, they want to fight me sometimes, So I keep boxing gloves in my office just in case. But
But Dr. Sean, you told me that yesterday, no eggs, and this morning I had oatmeal.
there you go.
Hmm. Yep.
So it's going to be a better option than that. Now, some people might argue, oh, oats have too much sugar or they cause me issues. And that's true. For some people, oats could be a problem. So they can do like a hot quinoa bowl in the morning, right? So that could be like sliced almonds and chia seeds and hemp seeds and blueberries and fresh fruit, maybe a little bit of coconut oil over top of cooked quinoa. Put a little cinnamon in it. It's amazing,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Or do a smoothie in the morning or do some juicing or, there's a lot of options out there. But food is big. And then the other part with eggs is milk and cheese products. And we're all told you got to get that
Dairy.
calcium.
Got
You
to
need
get that
that
dairy. Yeah.
you need that calcium for your bones. But if you look at the studies, Harvard University study shows that people that consume milk have weaker bones than people that don't consume milk. So you're going to get
Mm.
osteopenia, osteoporosis. You're never going to absorb the calcium that's in milk. It's almost impossible. Milk is a very inflammatory food. It's full of mucus. It's full of all kinds of particles that you don't want in your body. It's full of hormones. Even if they don't
Right.
inject the cows with hormones because they made that, illegal now, you can't do it. But they're doing all these other things to our food in this country. And if you look at other countries, it's banned. Why are all these
Mm.
ingredients banned in other countries? Other countries won't take our meats or our food. They don't want it. They don't want
Mm-mm.
our food. Where do we get our beef from? We get Australia. We get pasture-raised beef from Australia, and we get our fruits come from Mexico. I mean, we're not making our own quality stuff here, right?
Right.
Wow.
So you got to look at the food. You got to see what they're doing to the food. And if you think it's okay, people can argue, oh, like you said, you're spending money on organic food, but do you want to eat it? If I took an apple and you saw me take a big can of bug spray, like this big, right? And I
Mhm.
sprayed that apple and I gave it to you, would you eat that apple?
No.
No.
Why not just rinse it off with water? Because you know what I did to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sprayed that apple with 300 different herbicides and
Mm.
pesticides. And so what happens is they're spraying these fields with ingredients that are they're carcinogenic, right? They're going to cause you major problems, right? So they're getting into your tissues, they're getting into your blood, they're causing inflammation in your brain.
Mm.
And
And
some of
especially sugar. I read this book, Queen Sugar, and it was talking about growing the sugar canes and how much pesticides they have to use to kill the boll weevil and everything else that's attacking the sugar cane. So sugar has the highest amount of pesticides.
And so this is where the organic part comes in, right?
Yeah, and so organic doesn't necessarily mean that it's has more nutrients or vitamins in it, but you will be assured that there will be, if zero, definitely less chemicals in that. Now, could you get runoff from another farm or something? I mean, anything is possible, but you can guarantee
Much less.
the crops are not genetically modified. Some people don't even know what a GMO is, genetically modified organism. And some people will argue that, oh, GMO is good because, some of our medications are genetically modified and we need that and it's a good thing. But people will try to argue all these different things, but changing something from its natural state is generally not a good thing, especially if you look at, well, why are they doing that? So they're taking these crops. Here's an example. They'll take corn, right? And they'll splice it with some kind of a scientific type of process, and they splice these atoms or the DNA in these plants, and they inject it with a virus, and they're injecting it with like glyphosate, for example, and they're putting this in there so that the crops become more resilient. So think about this: if you went outside with insecticide or weed like weed Roundup, and you sprayed your plants outside, what would happen to them? They would die, right?
Die, yeah.
Right.
These GMO crops, now they're all in an altered state. So you come out there and they're spraying the fields, they're spraying these GMO crops with weed, with these weed herbicides and everything else, and the corn doesn't die, it survives that. Now you're ingesting this corn in your body. What do you think that's doing to you?
Right.
I mean, how many people have GI issues?
Right.
Right.
Colitis,
Absolutely.
ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. I mean, the list goes on. IBD.
Right.
So, again, what I said in the beginning, look to your food, look at the food, look at the food. Food is thy medicine, right? So
Right.
that's the biggest part of it. So people can take action and start changing some of that, and it's worth it, because if you want to feel good and you want to stay out of the medical system, that sick model care, unfortunately, that's what you have to do. There's not an easy answer, but it takes a lot of work. It's an investment. It takes, some amount of money, but here you are in a body, you're alive. Is it worth doing? Yeah, it's worth it to have a good quality of life, to be happy and feel good. You can't really put a price on that, can you?
I was just going to say that you can never put a price on your health.
Price.
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Sean, we're going to be winding down here. Are there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave with our audience before we close out?
Come see me. I'm the best.
Absolutely.
All right.
And when we
Yes.
post this, we'll put up all of your information, because
Yeah.
absolutely come see Dr. Sean, because he is the best. So,
He
ladies
sure
and gentlemen, that's all the time we have today. And just thank you so much, Dr. Sean, for joining
You're
me
welcome.
and Dottie J today.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
to
me. Thank you so
all
much.
of our listeners for tuning in, and just remember, folks, no matter what life throws at you, just try to focus on your health, because like Dr. Sean said, you cannot put a price on your health. So until next time, just stay healthy and be joyful. And I'm Phyllis Tucker Saunders of Conversations with Two Golden Queens. And remember,
Life's a journey.
enjoy the ride. Signing off.
See you guys.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you.